listen to me. You're not lost. You're not forgotten. You're not late. You're not overlooked. You are right on time for the door God already chose for you. But the problem is you're too busy banging on other people's doors, begging them to let you in, trying to force your way through what was never meant for you. Let me ask you something. How long are you going to wait at the wrong door? You're not waiting on the door is waiting on you. That simple shift in mindset changes everything. Most of us go through life thinking we're on pause, thinking that God is holding us back, thinking that if he would just hurry up and open the door, then we'd finally step into our purpose, our calling, our next level. But what if it's the other way around? What if God already set the door in place? What if it's already there, already assigned to your name, already marked by divine favor, but he's waiting on you to become the person who can walk through it? Let me say it like this. You don't give car keys to a 10-year-old, not because they'll never drive, but because they're not ready yet. And God is not going to give you the weight of a door you're not strong enough to carry. Some of you are frustrated in the waiting season, but you haven't asked the real question. Am I ready for what I'm praying for? See, you want the business, but you still can't manage your time. You want the marriage, but you haven't learned how to love yourself. You want the platform, but you don't even steward the people around you with care. So God is saying, I'm not punishing you, I'm protecting you. I'm developing you. Because the door is ready, but are you? We often treat God like he's slow, like he's delaying his promises. But God's not slow, he's strategic. He knows exactly when to open the right opportunity, and more importantly, who needs to be standing in front of it. And sometimes that who isn't the version of you that's standing there today. Sometimes it's the healed you, the mature you, the focused you, the disciplined you, the version of you that no longer needs validation from man because they already got affirmation from God. That's the unit he's waiting for. And here's the thing, the door won't move. It won't disappear. It's not going to someone else. The enemy wants to convince you that you missed your moment, that you messed up too badly, that you took too long. But God's plans are not that fragile. If he called you to it, the door will stay in place. But you've got to grow into it. You've got to stop pacing and start preparing. Because when the opportunity shows up, it's too late to get ready. You've got to be ready. Look at the patterns in scripture. David was anointed king as a teenager, but he didn't take the throne until years later. That door was chosen the moment the oil hit his head, but it wasn't open yet. God had to train him in the field, in the wilderness, even in the presence of Saul, who tried to kill him. Why? Because God wasn't just interested in getting David to the throne. He was building in him the heart of a king. And when David finally stepped through that door, he was ready. So the question is, are you acting like someone who's waiting or someone who's preparing? Because those are two different spirits. Waiting says maybe someday. Preparing says it could be today and I won't be caught slipping. Waiting is passive. Preparing is active. It means getting your mind right, your habits right. It means growing your faith so that when the door swings open, you're not standing there surprised. You're ready to walk through it with boldness. Stop praying for open doors if you're not willing to do the work behind them. Stop asking for next level blessings when you're still holding on to first level mindsets. God has no problem opening doors, but he's not about to open one that will crush you because you weren't prepared to carry what's on the other side. So again, you're not waiting on the door's waiting on you. Get up, build, grow, heal, forgive, study, serve, worship, discipline yourself. Because when you finally step into alignment with who God called you to be, you'll look back and realize that door was never late. You just had to grow into the version of you who could walk through it. Stop knocking on doors that aren't yours. It sounds simple, but so many people spend years, sometimes decades, banging on doors that were never meant for them. They exhaust their energy chasing relationships, careers, positions, platforms, and people, thinking that if they just try harder or prove themselves more, the door will eventually open. But here's the truth. When a door isn't yours, no amount of force, Begging or persistence will make it open. And even if you somehow do manage to force your way through, what's on the other side won't sustain you because it was never designed for you. God doesn't open every door you see. He opens the ones he designed for your purpose, for your growth, and for your destiny. When we chase the wrong doors, we settle for lesser versions of what he actually promised. We get distracted by what looks good on the outside, not realizing that some doors are just decorative. They look attractive. They look shiny. They look like success. But behind them is confusion, frustration, and emptiness because you're trying to fit into something that wasn't tailor-made for your life. And let's be real. Some of us are chasing other people's doors. You're copying someone else's calling. You saw their business take off, so now you're trying to walk into the same industry. You saw their ministry grow, so now you're trying to mimic their style. You see their relationship, so you start praying for a partner that looks like theirs, not realizing that you're praying for someone who doesn't even fit your God-given identity. Hear me. Comparison is the fastest way to end up outside a door that was never yours to begin with. There's nothing wrong with ambition. There's nothing wrong with desire, but it becomes dangerous when you try to hijack someone else's calling. The door God has for you has your name on it, not theirs. And God is not obligated to bless you where you were never meant to be. You can hustle all you want, grind all night, invest everything you have, but if you're standing at the wrong door, it's just gonna wear you down. Because grace doesn't flow at just any door. Grace flows at your door. And here's what happens when you chase the wrong door. You start doubting God. You start getting frustrated with him, asking why he's not showing up, why things aren't working out. But it's not that God failed you, it's that you're not in position. It's like trying to catch a bus that never comes to your stop because you're standing at the wrong station. The problem isn't the schedule, it's your location. Some of us stay too long at closed doors out of pride. We say, but I invested so much time here. I sacrificed so much. I gave everything I had. And God is saying, exactly. And now I want to give you something better, but you won't walk away from what's not yours. You can't receive what's next if your hands are full of what was never meant to stay. And let's be honest, some doors aren't just wrong, they're traps. They're distractions in disguise. Not every opportunity is a blessing. Not every connection is divine. Some doors were placed by the enemy to derail you, to waste your time, to destroy your confidence. That's why discernment matters more than desire. Just because you want it doesn't mean it's God. And just because it opens doesn't mean it was opened by God. Every open door isn't a God door. So what do? You get back in alignment with him. You stop chasing and start listening. You stop pushing and start praying. You ask God to show you what's really yours, even if it means letting go of what looked good. You develop the courage to walk away from what's familiar so you can walk into what's destined. You stop knocking on doors that aren't yours, not because they're bad, but because you finally realize you were created for more. You were created for something specific, something intentional, something eternal. And when you let go of the wrong door, you free your hands to open the one that was waiting on you all along. That's the door where your peace is. That's the door where your power is. That's the door where your purpose is. And when you walk through that door, you won't have to force it. You'll just have to follow God through it. Delay is not denial, it's development. That truth can be hard to accept when you're in the middle of waiting, when doors aren't opening, when prayers seem unanswered, when it feels like everyone else is moving forward and you're stuck. It's easy to assume God has said no, but what if the delay you're experiencing isn't God rejecting you? It's him preparing you. There's something God does in the waiting that he doesn't do in the winning. When everything is going your way, you don't stop to reflect. You don't feel the need to grow, to examine your character, to strengthen your foundation. But in the delay, God strips away what's not meant to go into the next season. He refines you. He matures you. He strengthens your identity. Not the one the world gave you, but the one he wrote over you before you even born. We live in a world obsessed with speed, instant results, overnight success, quick wins. But God's not in a rush. He's eternal. He's strategic. He's sovereign. He sees the end from the beginning. He's not just trying to get you to the door. He's trying to make sure that once you walk through it, you stay there. Because premature promotion can become punishment. If you get what you're asking for too soon, it could destroy you. And God loves you too much to let that happen. Think about this. God didn't send Joseph straight from the dream to the throne. First came betrayal, then the pit, then Potiphar's house, then prison. It was years before the palace. Why? Because the dream was real, the door was real, but the process was necessary. Joseph wasn't ready to rule when he was just a favorite son. He had to become a man who could lead a nation in a famine. That kind of wisdom, that kind of character, that kind of leadership, that is forged in delay, not in comfort. The same goes for you. You say you want the business, the platform, the influence, the relationship, and maybe God really does have all that for you. But what kind of person would you be if he gave it to you right now? Would you be rooted? Would you be humble? Would you be generous? Or would the blessing turn into a burden because your soul hadn't been developed to carry it? Sometimes the delay is God protecting the blessing from you. Because right now, the way you think, the way you move, the way you treat people, it can't hold the weight of what you're asking for. So he delays not to punish, but to prepare. He delays not to frustrate, but to form you. We have to stop interpreting silence as rejection. Just because you haven't heard yes doesn't mean the answer is no. It might be not yet. It might be not like that. It might be not with them, but it's not denial. It's God shaping you, correcting your posture, maturing your heart. He's not just blessing your gift. He's refining your character. And you know what's amazing? When God finally says now, the very things that seem delayed will come suddenly. Suddenly the opportunity will show up. Suddenly the right people will connect with you. Suddenly the door will open and you'll realize that all that waiting wasn't wasted. It was working for your good. So don't quit in the delay. Don't doubt in the development. Just because you haven't seen it yet doesn't mean God isn't working. He's preparing the door, yes, but he's also preparing you. Because when the two align, that's where destiny happens. And you know what's amazing? When God finally says now, the very things that seem delayed will come suddenly. Suddenly the opportunity will show up. Suddenly the right people will connect with you. Suddenly the door will open. And you'll realize that all that waiting wasn't wasted. It was working for your good. So don't quit in the delay. Don't doubt in the development. Just because you haven't seen it yet doesn't mean God isn't working. He's preparing the door, yes, but he's also preparing you. Because when the two align, that's where destiny happens. You don't need to chase people, chase purpose. That's a hard lesson for a lot of us, especially in a world that constantly tells you success is about who you know, who likes you, who follows you, or who chooses you. We've been conditioned to believe that our next level is tied to someone else seeing our value. So we spend years chasing people, chasing approval, chasing validation, trying to get in the right rooms with the right crowd, thinking they hold the key to our breakthrough. But hear me, people are not your source. God is. When you chase people, you live in a cycle of insecurity. You become addicted to their opinions, their affirmation, their yes. And the problem with that is people are inconsistent. They love you one day, ignore you the next. They celebrate you when you're up, disappear when you're down. If your destiny depends on their attention, your purpose will always be unstable. That's why God calls us to chase him and the assignment he's placed in our lives, not human approval. When you chase purpose, you stop performing, you stop pretending, you stop adjusting yourself to fit into rooms that don't respect who you really are. You stop begging for seats at tables God never intended you to sit at. You walk in confidence because you know who sent you, you know what you're here to do, and you know that the right people will align with your purpose without you having to manipulate anything. There's freedom in that. There's power in that. Some of you are tired, not because you're lazy, but because you're chasing the wrong thing. You're chasing people who were never meant to go with you. You're trying to convince people to believe in you when God already approved you. Let me say this clearly. If they have to be convinced to support you, they were never assigned to you. You don't need to force divine connection. What God has for you won't require begging. Think about Jesus. He didn't chase people. He walked in purpose. He didn't spend his ministry chasing the Pharisees trying to prove who he was. He didn't alter his message to be more palatable. He didn't water down his truth to keep followers. In fact, sometimes people left and he let them. He never compromised his calling to keep a crowd because he understood purpose attracts provision. Purpose attracts the right people. And purpose pleases God, not man. When you prioritize purpose, God brings the people. He brings the right connections, the right mentors, the right opportunities. But they come to serve the mission, not define it. See, when you know your calling, you understand that people are assignments, not destinations. They're part of the journey, not the reason for it. And if someone walks away, that's okay. Because if they can walk, they were never your foundation. God will never let your destiny be held hostage by someone who doesn't see your value. So stop shrinking to fit into friendships, relationships, or environments that don't align with your calling. Stop chasing platforms when God is calling you to the secret place. Stop obsessing over being seen and focus on being sent. Because when God sends you, the doors will open, the favor will flow, the right people will come, and you won't have to chase anyone. They'll find you. Chasing purpose means you trust the process, even when it's lonely. It means you keep showing up, even when no one's clapping. It means you stay faithful in the field, like David, knowing that when the time is right, God will bring your name up in rooms you never stepped into. You don't need to network your way into a door God already prepared. Stay planted, stay faithful, stay focused. Because when you chase purpose, you stop running after people and start running towards your promise. The truth is, when you finally stop chasing people and start chasing purpose, you realize something powerful. You were never behind. You were just busy running in the wrong direction. But today, you can shift. Today, you can realign. Because purpose never loses power. It just waits for you to return to it. And when you do, everything you thought you had to chase will start chasing you. Favor opens what force cannot. And that's something you come to understand, not just with your mind, but with your life. We live in a culture that glorifies hustle, grind, and nonstop effort. You're taught that if you just work hard enough, network enough, post enough, push enough, you'll eventually break through. And don't get me wrong, there is value in work ethic, consistency, and discipline, but there comes a point where you realize something deeper. There are doors you simply cannot force open. No matter how talented, connected, or strategic you are, there are levels that only favor can unlock. Favor is the unearned, undeniable, supernatural grace of God that opens what human effort cannot. It's when opportunities show up that you didn't apply for. It's when people bless you who don't even know you. It's when the timing lines up perfectly and you can't explain it logically because it wasn't logic, it was God. Favor takes you from overlooked to chosen in an instant. And the beauty of it is, favor isn't fair. It's not based on your resume, your degree, or your reputation. It's based on God's purpose for your life. Sometimes you need to stop and realize you're wearing yourself out trying to do in the flesh what God already planned in the spirit. You're trying to manipulate your way into places that only grace can carry you. You're exhausting yourself with strategies when what you really need is surrender. Because when God decides to open a door, no man can shut it. And when he says not yet, no amount of force can make it swing open. Look at Esther. She didn't beg for a position. She was chosen. The favor of God gave her access to the king, not because she was more beautiful than anyone else, but because God had positioned her for such a time as this. When favor is on you, you don't need to beg to be noticed. You don't need to scheme to be seen. Favor shines through obedience, through humility, through alignment with God's will. When you walk in that, doors open that you didn't even know existed. Too many people are addicted to control. You want to know all the steps, have all the answers, and build your own breakthrough. But God is saying, will you let me do it this time? Because when you surrender control, you make room for favor. When you let go of force, you open space for faith. That's when supernatural things begin to happen. Things that don't make sense. Things that only God could have orchestrated. And favor doesn't just open doors, it sustains you inside of them. Because sometimes you can force your way into a space, but if you got there by manipulation, anxiety, or pride, you won't be able to stay. You'll burn out. You'll break down. But when favor gets you in, grace will keep you. You won't have to compromise to maintain it. You won't have to pretend. You can just be, knowing that it was God who placed you there. You don't have to hustle for what heaven already decided. You don't have to fight battles that are already won. That's the power of favor. It goes before you. It clears the path. It speaks for you when you're not in the room. It surrounds you like a shield. And it makes you realize that you don't need to be perfect to be chosen. You just need to be aligned. So stop forcing what isn't flowing. If it takes you out of character to get it, it's not from God. If it costs you your peace to keep it, it's not favor. It's fear. Walk away from the mindset that says everything depends on you. Start trusting the God who sees the end from the beginning. Favor will take you places talent can't. Favor will open doors money can't buy. Favor will accomplish in one moment what you couldn't do in 10 years of grinding. You can't manufacture favor, but you can position yourself for it through obedience, through faithfulness, through integrity, through surrender. And when the moment comes, when the door swings open, you'll know it wasn't your force, it was God's hand. Favor did what force never could. When God opens your door, you won't have to compete for it. That's a truth that cuts deep, especially in a world that's constantly telling you to fight for your place, prove your worth, outwork the next person, and never let up. Everything around you screams competition. Social media, business, even ministry sometimes. The pressure to be the best, to stand out, to stay relevant can become overwhelming. But God's kingdom doesn't operate like the world. In his kingdom, you don't have to compete when it's already been assigned. See, the door God has for you isn't up for grabs. It's not a race. It's not a battle. It's not a game of who's more gifted, who's louder, who has more followers, or who got there first. What's yours is yours. It's sealed with your name. It's reserved for your purpose. And when the time is right, when you're ready and the moment aligns, you won't have to push people out of the way to get to it. You'll just walk into it. The problem is, we've been trained to believe that if someone else wins, we lose. We treat life like there's only one seat at the table. But God isn't running out of seats. He's not running out of doors. He's not limited by the economy, the culture, or the calendar. His supply doesn't run dry. So someone else's elevation isn't your rejection. It's just their season. And when it's your turn, nothing and no one will be able to stop it. But competition causes us to take our eyes off our assignment and put them on people. Instead of focusing on becoming who God called us to be, we start trying to beat who someone else is. And in doing so, we lose authenticity. We lose peace. We lose clarity. Comparison creeps in and starts whispering, you're behind, you're not good enough, you're too late. And so we hustle not out of vision, but out of fear. But fear-driven success is fragile. It crumbles when the pressure hits. That's why God doesn't want you to fight your way in. He wants you to follow him in. Remember David? When it was time to anoint the next king, nobody even thought to bring him in from the field. His own father didn't see him as a contender. But what was his response? He didn't run into the house and try to argue his case. He didn't list his accomplishments or criticize his brothers. He stayed faithful in the field. And when the prophet asked, is there anyone else? David was called in. He didn't push his way into the room. God pulled him into his purpose. That's how God works. When it's your time, he'll call your name. He'll position your life. He'll open doors no one else can. And you won't have to compete for it, not because you're better, but because you're assigned. There's peace in knowing you don't have to play the game. There's confidence in knowing you don't have to perform. There's joy in knowing you're chosen, not because of how loud you are, but because of how faithful God is. And here it is. If you do have to compete for it, it's probably not yours. If you constantly have to prove your worth, force your way in, or fight to be seen, take a step back. Because real destiny doesn't need desperation. It just needs alignment. God's plan for your life isn't fragile. It doesn't depend on who likes you, who promotes you, or who tries to block you. If it's yours, it will find you. If it's yours, God will hold it open until you get there. So stop striving, stop comparing, stop exhausting yourself trying to win in rooms God never sent you to. Focus on faithfulness, focus on preparation, focus on becoming, not just getting. Because when God opens your door, you'll walk in with peace. You'll walk in with confidence. You'll walk in knowing, I don't have to fight for this. It was mine all along. And when you walk through a door like that, you know it wasn't competition that got you there. It was calling.